yesterday, 18 hours, about 18 hours ago. And Trump signed PPP Flexibility Act into law. What does that mean? And just remember 5 things that you need to remember. So it made changes to loan terms. It made changes to PPP loan proceeds, how to use it. It made changes to the forgiveness condition, and it made changes to FTE wages restoration, and it made changes for payroll tax deferrals. 5 changes. So let's run what they are. Number 1, loan terms. All right? So maturity. Recall, see how the slides goes, very simple. Before, 2 years maturity for all PPP loans. We all know that. 2 years we have to pay it back. 1% interest, remember? Now, the rate didn't change. However, that 2 years become, the 2 years is a maximum 2 years. So you do it 2 years maximum. But now, it's 5 years, but it's a minimum 5 years. So you now can do PPP loan from 5 years to 10 years, okay? So what I want you to know is that if you already signed the loan agreement with your bank, you already got a PPP loan, it is not automatic. You need to go back. If you couldn't get it forgiven, you're really gonna borrow money and pay it back, and you can't, make sure you go back to revisit that with your bank because it's not automatic. And this is giving to the PPP loan that is yet to come out, okay? And another thing is that, yes, PPP loan is not done yet. And later on in this webinar, I will talk to you about who need to go forward with the PPP loan application. Deferred loan payment. Before, the payment is deferred 6 months. Deferred just means that interest and the principal and the interest are not going to be paid, okay? And you can defer that for 6 months before. But now it's 10, okay? So it's extended. You don't have to start that. You don't have to start to pay the principal and the interest right away. You can defer that to 10 months. So where is the beginning of the 10 months? So the beginning is for those who are getting portion of forgive, the other portion become a loan, then you start that 10 months on the date you get the forgived amount confirmed. But for those ones who doesn't even want to apply, they just want to treat that as a loan, those people, they start from the end of the covered period. The covered period was 8 weeks before, right? So we will soon telling you that it is changed. Now it's 24 weeks, but we'll go there. So small business owners should work with the lender to address the necessary modification to his or her loan documents. So this is where the loan terms changes to you. And just keep in mind, most of us, if you are going to get 100% forgive, you don't need that, right? And we don't need to really care about that because our goal is 100% forgiven. So, but if in case you didn't, and in case you calculated the application kind of wrong, you just got a whole bunch of money you couldn't spend, and it is becoming a loan, then that loan terms is important to you. That's number 1. Number 2, use of PPP loan. So use of it. So when to use it, how to use it, and in terms of the loan, what to use that for, no change. So it's still payroll cost plus non-payroll cost. Non-payroll cost is still rent, utility, mortgage interest. So there is not much change to that, okay? Again, but in terms of use it, that got changed. Before, you have to use it before the end of, at the end of June, right? Remember, like if your 8 weeks ends before the end of June, and then you will use it within the 8 weeks, but the restoration, the safe harbor comes at June 30th, so you could still use that on the June 30th, right? So the maximum stretch was June 30th. But now, extended this period to December 31st, 2020. So now you have the rest of the year to take care of that. Number 3, loan forgiveness. This is a little heavy lifting, but listen to this. Covered period. Remember, it was 8 weeks. 8 weeks, a lot of you said that, Ying, what do you mean by 8 weeks? I can't even open shelter in place, and the governor won't even allow anybody to go out. I can't use the money. I can't do this. I can't do that. It is so true. It is so not fair to have that 8 weeks. So SBA hear you, and there's people on the ground like senators, congressmen, and all kind of task force, and people are gathering noises. So made Congress come up with a new Flexibility Act. Senate approved it, and with George Floyd incident happens in the country, I really think that the government is doing the right thing to do something good for the small business, right? Some of our, we have at least 3 clients on our book, and their property got damaged. So it's just devastating. How do they spend that in 8 weeks? It's difficult. Not only that, people who are on unemployment, I just read an article, I don't know whether that's true or not, says that 75% of the people who are on unemployment were making more than what they made when they are working for small businesses. What does that mean? Of course, it's great. I'm happy for people who get it. But for small business owners, that means you're not going to get anybody back. Okay? So that's a practical difficulty. So they extended it from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. Right on. We need that. Okay? So this is one of the cover period change. So before before your expenses is incurred or paid during the 8 weeks period from the date of the loan. Okay, say you got your PPP loan on May 4th, then you have it to June 22nd to spend it and incur it, right? Even if you didn't spend it, it needs to be incurred in that 8 weeks time. So now what happened? You can have your payroll cost, your non-payroll cost incurred or paid during 24 weeks or December 31st, 2020, whichever is earlier from the date of the loan. So let's say you got May 4th, I calculated, so you got all the way to October 19. What a relief, right? What a good news. So you know how to calculate your numbers now, right? You know how long you have to use that money for the purposes that defined. Now, non-payroll cost. There's also a change for non-payroll costs. It used to be what? It used to be for the old rule says that if you got $100,000, I have an example there. If you receive $100,000, but only applied for $50,000 for forgiven. Some people got more and they couldn't have the expenses, so they say, okay, I'm gonna apply for forgiveness for $50,000. Then only 25% of that $50,000 can be used for non-payroll expenses. Now the rule changed. Listen to me how they changed it. They say if you got a total of $100,000 loan, it's not about what you get forgiven or not. They're saying the payroll expense needs to be 60%, non-payroll costs need to be 40%, so $60,000 plus $40,000 should come in to be the total amount. That is the language in the Flexibility Act and giving that kind of interpretation. Again, remember in the very beginning I have this, you take my words with grain of salt, right? So make sure, and I explain to you, there's not a lot of interpretation yet, but this is what I got for you, okay? So they're saying that you must spend 60% of your money on payroll. Within 24 weeks, we shouldn't have any issue with that. And then 40%, you can do other things. All right. So that is the loan forgiveness side of things, okay? And it didn't really match what it was. What it was is 25% of the forgived portion, but this is 40% of the loan. Okay? Now, number 4. Remember this restoration thing, safe harbor and the FTE and the wages, and a lot of us experience the fact that you can't even get your people back because they're getting more money with unemployment, why would they come back? And I would agree with them too. Why would we come back? And I get more money here doing nothing, right? And so here is the new Flexibility Act, what they're saying. Restore wages in full. That is still in place. That's still your goal. You should restore that in full. But instead of before June 30th, 2020, look at what happened. Now it's December 31st, 2020. That should be easier, right? And FTE. Before, it was said June 30th, 2020. Now it got pushed to December 31st, 2020. And a safe harbor. There's still a safe harbor. Safe harbor means that you're safe when you come over to this harbor. Don't stay in the sea, and you come over, you're safe. But how do they interpret that? They say the new safe harbor provides that a reduction in number of full-time employee equivalent number will be discarded if of two things happen. If of two things that one of the two things happen to you, if. Okay, so what it says that you are okay. We're not worried about your EFT numbers anymore if you qualify for these two exceptions. Number one, small business can document an inability to rehire individuals who were employees on February the 15th, 2020. So you got a beautiful workforce, and you had employees on February 15, 2020, but you are unable to hire them back, okay? Inability to rehire the individual. And so they're asking you for document. If you can document, of course you can. I think you actually wrote a letter to the employee to come back, and they told you that, oh, no, boss, and are you kidding me? I make more here. I'm not coming back. That is your documentation, okay? And the government knows it, and that is the fact. And it's not like it happens to you, just you. No, it happens to all small businesses, okay? Then the other thing is, small business can deduct a inability to return to the same level of business activity due to reasons beyond their control. What are the reasons? Compliance requirement. And, you know, even though we open the business, the governor allowed to open the business, but social distancing, CDC still requires masks and social distancing, and in the lobby you cannot have more than 10 people and things like that. That ultimately reduces your business ability to make the business money you used to make. So those are the documentation you need to have to get that safe harbor exemption. So what happened? Your number of employees is not counted. It's okay, you don't have the same number as long as your wages were restored. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 5. A lot of you are not familiar with number 5 because it didn't really come into play yet. And a lot of us are actually paying 941, taxes, the federal FICA taxes at the quarter end. So we just experienced the April 15, we paid the first quarter, but because of the PPP loan for small business came so late, majority of the small businesses didn't really get anything in the first round. So you're not even experiencing the PPP, the loan, the 941 deferral. You just you didn't even you don't have the restriction. So what happened is, if you receive PPP money, and the government said that you cannot delay, you cannot defer the money you need to pay to the IRS on 941 taxes. So let me review. Let me say to you that what is the payroll tax deferral thing? So the CARES Act says that employer can defer deposit and the payment to the employer portion of Social Security taxes that otherwise would be paid to the IRS. So what is that number? That is the 6.2%. if you recall. So Social Security is actually 6.2 the employee pays, the 6.2 the employer pays, right? So the employer portion of that you don't have to pay. You can defer all of them into 2021 and 2022, half on 2021, half on 2022. So which portion to defer, which period? It's from March all the way to December. So there is a four quarter of 6.2% you can defer. And no penalty, no interest. You just keep the money running your business. So that's what CARES Act was saying. But when PPP came out, PPP said that, well, if you got PPP, you cannot defer, and you have to pay it on time. So now this new Flexibility Act came in, said that, well, small business owners may now continue to defer 2020 payroll taxes even after it received the loan forgiveness. So basically what it says is, don't worry, you just do whatever you were doing, as if you didn't really have the PPP, right? So that is the number 5. See, we came through 5 things in the PPP area, and the new just released Flexibility Act. So number 1, long terms. Remember, we talked about if you get 100% forgiven, and you don't really worry about long terms. Otherwise, you have it longer, okay? And the use of PPP, now you had it longer to December 31st, 2020. And your loan forgiveness, well, you had the safe harbor rule explained to you. Now, as long as you document that, you don't even need to meet that. And you have 24 weeks to meet that all the way to December 31st, 2020, whichever ends early. So you got more time. And you also had the percentage change from 75-25 to now 60-40. And our 60-40 for the new rule for the Flexibility Act is actually on the total amount, on the total loan amount, okay? And then you also have your FTE and wages restoration. Restoration is also loosened up, and June 30th, 2020, out of the window, replace that with December 31st, 2020. And also exception of safe harbor rules, right? So that's what that's our number 4. Then your payroll taxes deferral on the 6.2% for the Social Security portion of an employer payment. All right. With that, I want to tell you, apply for PPP is not late. It's not late. Okay? So the application ends on June 30th. And a couple of days, I checked on the balance. There's $120 billion still available. So if you are I listed several kind of business that was not considering doing it because of the complexity of the forgiveness process. Now it is becoming so small business friendly, and you should question your process, your thought process. Maybe it is time to apply. Okay. And I want to say that the form to apply is 2483, and normally you apply with a lender. So talk to your friend. Where did you get your PPP? So maybe they will tell you that I got from this people, that people. Then you go there. You go find out. Bring your tax forms, okay? And there's 4 type of people, 4 type of businesses are not doing PPP properly. They're not applying. They're scared. They think it's not worth it. And why not worth it? And we're not even talking about tax savings. This is the money given to you to spend. Has nothing to do with taxes. It's not taxable, and it is free money, just same as you winning lotteries. And why are you winning lotteries? You even pay taxes on lottery, but this is not even paying taxes. It's government trying to make small businesses survive. But there's so much of a mental blockage small business has. They just think it's too hard. They're too scared of the government. No, don't be scared of government. They don't use the military forces, all right? And the government in general, there's still a lot of good people in our government system. And they really think for you. They really care about the business. And you can imagine that if there is one person blocking the Flexibility Act, it will not be signed into law. So obviously, the people who come through this process, approved it, are all the people who care about small business. And we are not yet to really understand how big of an impact the small business has in the economy, and the government just start to discover that. And the unemployment, the downtrend of the market, the loss we experience, and that will just teach people, reinforce the leadership to understand that it is important. The small business has to survive, and you are one of them, and you are not applying for PPP, which is beyond my comprehension. Okay, so sole proprietor, you need to apply, and if you file Schedule C, and you need to apply. And obviously, if you say that, well, I filed Schedule C, but it's so little, it's not worth it, I'm not sure any money, any free money goes to you is not worth it. Is $50 worth it? Oh, I think so. In $50, I can buy a lot of things for $50. I literally, if I buy paper towels, I would buy a truck of them, right? With the old price. Yes, with old price. LLC single member should apply, right? LLC single member. And multi-member LLC owners should apply. And now if you're not yet done with 2019 taxes, that's all what they want. They want the K-1. So do your taxes right, then take the K-1 to apply for PPP, all right? And if you started business in 2020, do you know that you can also apply for PPP? You're not limited to have a history for 2019. And if you bought a business in 2020 and from an old business, do you know that you can use those reference from the old business you bought and to apply for PPP? Yes. If you don't know, now you do, right? So make sure you do that. And now let me spend some time, the next few minutes, to talk about EIDL loan, okay? And this is a subject that a lot of people haven't really touched on because it just sort of come to life right now. And everybody was stressed over PPP, so much commotions, and I'm still telling you that to apply for it, please do apply for it, okay? And I actually called up one of my friend, and I know she does Schedule C, and even though I don't really do her taxes myself, but I remember she asked questions about Schedule C to me before, so I checked it out to see whether she applied for it, and obviously she doesn't even know anything about it. So people like that, please know that it is your God-given right to apply for PPP and just exercise it, okay? And the EIDL loan. So the current status of EIDL loan, about a week ago, and so far SBA calculated they approved $38 billion EIDL loan to about 430,000 borrowers, which means the businesses, okay? And the EIDL stands for Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So by the name itself, it tells you that you have to suffer economic injury, and it has to be in a disastrous situation before the loan can apply to you, right? So a lot of people went ahead and applied for it because there was an advance loan dollars available. And remember, when they came out with that, they said that they will give this to you in 3 days as soon as you apply. And then it went on for weeks and weeks, and it's like got lost. Then suddenly, sometimes in the middle of May, the advance dollars start to mysteriously appear in your bank account. Some of our clients didn't even know they got it until we are running bank recs, and it goes, oh yeah, there is a EIDL loan. How come you didn't even know? And the business owner are so distracted at the time, they couldn't care less of what happened to their bank because their business is already closed, right? So really, there are things are moving at the time that we're not expecting. So now the status for EIDL loan is the advance, you pretty much got it. So somehow the advance becoming $1,000 per employee. So if you have 50 employees, you get 10,000 maximum. So that's the maximum. But if you have 1 employee, then you got 1,000. If you are sole proprietor, you got 1,000. So that is the advance that shows up in your bank account without you making a sound. You just need to go in the computer, get your information in. However, while you are applying for that advance, you also applied for the loan. So basically, that's a loan application process. So the SBA now saying that they send you an email. They're saying that here's the portal access. You got approved for the loan, and please log in. So when you log in, you will see an amount. So far, with all of the clients we haven't had anybody getting more than $150,000. So $150,000 is the maximum. So far, I see most of the small business has. In fact, I have not seen anybody has more than that, other than the one who were under EIDL loan prior to COVID-19. You know, they had fires in the area in California, so they're getting more money, which is up to $2 million. So the loan terms for EIDL loan is kind of general. I think that applies to a lot of disasters, not just COVID-19. So that loan term is that is up to $2 million. So as a business, we could apply up to $2 million. And the 30 years term and the 3.75 on the rate, if your nonprofit is lower by 1%, become a 2.75. The first payment is 12 months later. So it's not while you are struggling with the rebuild, and you know, it's not like that. So it's 12 months later. And then there is an underwriting requirement the SBA put out. And remember that EIDL loan has nothing to do with your banker. And the PPP, you sort of went to your bank, you got PPP because SBA giving that work to banks who are authorized to do SBA loan. But in this particular case with EIDL loan, understand that it's not a bank process. It's SBA. The folks who work for SBA, they are the loan officers. They are the one approving those, okay? So with that, and what it says is that EIDL loan, if it is under 25,000, okay? I noticed that I put in the wrong, I forgot a zero over there. And so there would be, if it is under 25,000, there isn't any collaterals. So it is just give to you quick and easy under 25,000. So when you got into your portal, let's say if SBA offer you 100,000, and then you are saying that don't need 100,000, I just need 10,000. And then you go back to them, say I want 10,000 instead of 100,000. Then your loan, it doesn't have any collaterals on it. There's no security guarantee on it. It's just a loan. When I say that, what does that mean? That just means that if your business went bad and filed bankruptcy, that 10,000 is going to be bankrupt with you. So it is not really, there's nothing to recover. SBA would not have any ways to say that go after your car and go after your house. It's not like that, okay? But if it is over 25,000, but under 200,000, so there is no personal guarantee, but has a general security attached to it, which is more like your business properties. So let's say I got 100,000 loan, and say I run a restaurant, right? So your restaurant equipment, your restaurant, your dish, and your bank deposit, and the things like that, it will become a collateral for that loan you are getting from SBA because it's over 25,000. Okay, so if you file bankruptcy and you would have to sell your inventory, sell your stove, your ventilation system. Hopefully you can sell up the same amount for what you owe to SBA, then you can pay SBA because your business property is tied with your loan. So that is what we call the general security, okay? And then if you have it above 200,000, you have a personal guarantee. Personal guarantee just means that even if your business file bankruptcy, you personally guarantee. So unless you file personal bankruptcy, otherwise you are still liable for the loan to pay back. But it is 30 years, and it is 3.75%. So let me give you an idea of how much would that be if you have, say you borrowed the maximum $150,000 and from EIDL loan. And your payment will start, let's say it is May 1st you got the loan. So next year on June 1st, you will start paying close to $750 a month. And that will stretch out to 30 years. So that's kind of the monthly payment you have. And as long as you are running the business, say you sold your business or you closed your business at some point of time, then you just pay SBA in full. And there's no penalty for paying it early off, okay? So that's kind of the understanding of the EIDL loan. And so this is where the security interest I was talking about to you. And then on the loan, then you ask me, okay, Ying, now I have the loan, so what do I use the loan for? Let me tell you that there's not much of an innovation on this yet. So what we have, it is still what we had before. So there is no amendment, there's no upgrade, but I just looking at what PPP is all about, I personally believe that there will be enough voices out there to help the government to rethink about what can we use the EIDL loan for. But right now as we speak, you can only use that for fixed debt. Fixed debt means the things that you are paying like your rent. So they give an example of rent. Then I would also probably stretch that all the way to credit card. Some people, they borrow money from the credit card, and the credit card don't ask them to pay back anything. They just have a fixed charges, like $10,000 a month. They took the money out. Those are fixed debt. Those are debt that you incurred, then you have to pay for it, right? So I would interpret that to be in that way. Obviously, there will be more interpretation come out when that use of loan becoming a daily things. And right now, most of the small business owners are in the process of getting it, and nobody really yet have issues or questions, or overwhelming questions about what to use this loan for. Then you can use the loan for payroll. Look, after you spend PPP, and maybe you still need help on the payroll, then you need to pay payroll, right? That payroll does not exclude you as a business owner. You pay yourself payroll. You can pay yourself payroll out of the loan because that you are part of the employee team, okay? And account payable, boy, what is not on account payable? Tell me. Account payable means the business expenses that you already incurred, but you hasn't paid yet. Okay, and who did not have overwhelming business expenses that parked on payable that didn't really have a way to pay? So you can use that loan to clean up your payable. Okay, that is a good deal. That is a very general guidelines, and there's really no guidelines. So whatever accounting system you have, whatever you documented, and you would be able to pay it out of the EIDL loan. And some bills that could have been paid if the disaster not occurred. Look at that. So we can use that EIDL loan money to pay for things that otherwise I would have money. Boy, and I'm thinking, I'm just imagining that if I run my business normal, and now I want to build a cash balance plan for my employee, and that I would pay if I had my business normal. So now EIDL loan can help to pay that. So you see how they laid it out. These are the language. I didn't really create it, and I just copy and paste the act and come over here to show you that what they have. So that's what you can use for. But underneath there, it is kind of, they didn't have a lot of guidance on what you to use for, but they have a lot of guidance on what you cannot use for. So all of these things, and it's just making you sit there wondering, well, I just feel like I cannot use that money at all. And I agree with you. You kind of get that sense of like, I'm not even sure what to do with this money. It looks like I cannot use it for anything. So, for example, they don't want to use it for dividend and bonuses. Okay, then I guess it has to be a payroll. You cannot call it bonuses, right? So you cannot use it for disbursement to owners unless it's for performance of services. Which business owner does not perform for services? Hey, I want to know, any one of you who operate a business doesn't perform for services? I want to be you. If you can make that happen, I think you're a genius. And I like to know people like that. So far, out of my 9,000 clients, and I have not seen any one business owner who is not bending backwards, work harder, and when the disaster strikes, and work day and night 24/7, right? So I don't understand. Feels like whoever wrote that doesn't understand business. And repayment of stockholder and principal loans. So this, it says with exceptions, and no more words on that, so I don't know what is the exception. But basically, you know how we run business, sometimes we have a loss, then the owner will put in the money to loan to the business. But that is, I do not consider that is a repayment of shareholder. A repayment of shareholder, normally it is related to your investment, but / principal loans. And so then that kind of leads you to believe that that's a shareholder loan. And I don't think this particular line is even really clear. And if it is not clear for professional people like us, and I don't think it makes any sense for any one of you, but all of this, it is to tell you that you do have restrictions, but I truly believe it will update itself. And just like PPP, we have business owners, when we start to applying for PPP for them, and the business owner goes, well, I have to repay it back. It's so hard to get forgiven. I don't want it. And in reality, we applied for it, and I just basically believe that PPP is a equalizer for inflation. So I did as much as I can to make my client apply for it. But look at today. If they didn't apply for it, and they would miss the chance to have such a lucrative and wide open requirement, and they loosen up the requirement. They allowed so many people to get for free. There even is a proposal on the table at Congress that for any PPP loan that is under $150,000, it is automatically forgiven. So that is not signed into law yet, but that is what the commotions, the input the government is getting from people like us on the field. So really, EIDL loan will also advance that way. It will improve. So now, and my advice for getting this EIDL loan, I say get it if you can. And do not overthink. If you qualified, they offered, why are you not getting it? Just get it. And the rule is constantly evolving, right? And I am sure things will change. Good news for small business are continue to come. I really think that as a government, and they really understand deeper and more about the function of small business in the community, in the society. So once that understanding becomes more clear, which means our economy is going in the ditch, and the people realize that what small businesses are doing to the economy, the government will put in more emphasis on it. And with George Floyd dead in the way he did, and that brought up so much injustice feelings in the system. So the White House is in a hurry, trying to make sure that the small businesses are feeling okay, and unreasonable requirement is being lifted. So I really do believe that EIDL will come through that way as well. And I do advise you to set up a separate account to track your use of government money. Government money so far, it is your PPP, it is your EIDL loan. Those are big chunks of it. And if you can put them all in one account and count them together, and really the really key is that in this kind of time, the most important things you need to know is to have a good accounting. It is becoming so important because you're using government money. So my last advice to you is good accounting with accounting firm like Community CPA to really understand the importance of it and also understand your thought and your culture. And we're just that kind of firm. So I hope that the webinars you attend and make you feel like you can rely on us, and we do give you advice, and we carry out the advice we give you, and we explain it deeper when you work with us.